Nate is the next master builder of the Tiny Boat Nation. Today we get to watch him piece together this 1648 Lowe John boat. He does it with his own epic style to put together one of the baddest 1648 John boats out there. When done, this boat will compete in tournaments with horsepower limits. So the objective is, how do we get a boat, give it a full kit, be able to carry a live well, all the gear, a co-angler, and still get the max performance out of a 25 horsepower cap. If he does it right, it's going to have the lightest frame possible out of all 1.5 by 1/16 angle aluminum. For the millimeter measurement, if you're needing that, that's 0.067. That's how thin we're running it. And right here, he's running his own dry hatch system, running with a raised lip that compresses into his hatches. And as he dresses the inside of his hatches, they press against the lip, so water really isn't going to be able to go through there. It's going to flow around into designated spots, and it's going to drain out to the bilge. The difference in the amount of materials that go into a 16-foot boat versus a 14-foot boat are pretty substantial. So if you don't do everything you're supposed to do here to make it as light as you possibly can, the boat ends up obscenely heavy. Nate knows this, which is why he's going through all this trouble to frame it as light as possible. It's important to know that when you're framing like this, framing with aluminum is not harder than framing with wood. It's just longer and more tedious, all the drilling, all the riveting, but it's so worth it. The gain you get from this is exponentially higher than anything you can gain with wood. For those of you who ask me how much aluminum you need on average, you need 150 to 200 feet on average of angle. And for Nate, the way he's doing it, he might actually need more. But I tell you, you get stick after stick of aluminum, it just goes like candy. The other thing about aluminum, apart from how expensive it is that it's very tedious. It has to be done right, it has to fit right, or the whole thing goes out of whack. So you back and forth to the saw, drilling and riveting constantly. A lot of people knock riveting frames, but it is the rivets that allow people to do it out of their garage at a DIY level to make a frame like this. And in the end, with 1/16 inch aluminum, there is no gain you can get from welding that you can do with a rivet, because the riveted joint will hold long after the frame fails. Knowing little tricks and shortcuts like the one Nate's about to show you here, pretty paramount to making it all fit together, like a puzzle. One of the big myths of aluminum is that it's lighter than wood. It is in some cases, definitely in the framing it is, but not in the decking. Nate and I run our hatches the same way. 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch for rated plywood, or marine grade plywood if you can find it. And then we run a side lip of its equivalent. The lip gives us a good surface to grip onto, better surface for the screws to go through onto the piano hinge, and it gives us a spot to insulate and dress underneath for a fancy finish. And because the gentleman whose boat this is a Marine, it's going to be all maroon finishing, as you'll see here shortly.
Once they're all sanded and sealed, now you have 1 inch on the side, which gives you plenty of thickness for your piano hinges, which you'll see later. And it helps to keep your lids a lot straighter. Make sure when you're cutting all your parts, you allow for your thickness of carpet, because that's a biggie.
On the thickness of carpet, you're going to want 1/4 to 1/2 inch gap between your panels. If you're unsure, it's better to overestimate, because you can live with a slightly larger gap than you like, because your hatches will actually close. But when your hatches don't close and you did all that work, it's heartbreaking. This was Nate's first run at gathering footage and doing this work. So some of it was there, some of it wasn't. What I can show you through the rest of the process is some of the things he did, to include tapering the rod tubes and running them through, making the baddest, most awesome center rod locker I've seen in a boat project like this. And here you see where we're doing the maroon dressing. He used 16-ounce carpet, 16-ounce marine carpet from Menards. Came out pretty sweet. He also used nylon webbing for the lifts for the hatches. So a lot of people actually do that. I generally run the Perco latches, the plastic latches, but a lot of people run those and prefer those and say the Perco latches are garbage. I'm not quite sure about that, but I do know it really worked for this boat. As we secure all the panels and get them ready, we're nearing the end of the boat. One of the longer parts of the boat is actually when it's all done and you have to do the final touches, the final checks, make sure everything seems upright, make sure everything's connected right, to make sure there are no problems on the water during your debut. Another thing that I will say about Nate is that he puts these boats out in like record time. He gets them done insanely fast. I have no idea how he does it. Jason Braun from TBNation Shirts and Decals hooked Nate up with all the hull decals and all the carpet decals. Very, very nice and consistent quality from all the decals. You can't thank him enough. If you're having trouble with some of these larger decals, a heat gun and a squeegee will help you get around the rivet heads and help you lay it out evenly. Here's the last step before we put it on the water. Here we go. If you like this project, tell Nate all about it by posting in the comment section below and leaving a like. Nate's also wanting to hear what you have to say, so his Instagram handle and his Facebook contact information are all in the description area of this video. However you get it done, whatever improves your fishing ventures, whatever helps you enjoy life more, do it. Don't hold back, because life's short. Fish on, everyone. Tight lines.